What's up, guys, and welcome back to Planet Coaster 2. If you're enjoying this series, make sure to leave a like on the video. It'd be greatly appreciated. In the last episode, we worked almost exclusively on this area of Toogii Land, but I kind of prefer doing things that way. I feel like I can focus more on the smaller, finer details, and usually because of that, we end up with a better end result. But I've got some ideas as to how we can sort of church up this central pond area here in the middle. It just didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to. In addition to that, though, I'd also like to work on the lazy river side of Toogii Land because that's really all we have out here. And now that we have proper theme park attractions, thanks to these 3 coasters, the guests don't really seem to want to swim as much. Like, I've never seen the wave pool this empty. And it's just sad, truthfully, because we spent quite a bit of time, like, really dialing all this stuff in. But to get us going today, we're going to use our Flatten to Foundation tool and just kind of flatten out all the terrain, at least over this portion of this little pond. I do want to try to keep just a small portion of what used to be basically a lake just in this area right here, because truthfully, I do like how this dip in our coaster goes right over top of the water. I just think that that looks really cool. And like the return track as well, kind of hovering just above that. So we'll leave just that portion of it. But this area, I think I'm gonna fill in with that boardwalk path. You know, now that we've done that, it does look kind of weird having these 2 asphalt strips on either side. So I think we're gonna go ahead and just fill that in the rest of the way with that same boardwalk path material. Yeah, that looks quite a bit nicer. So my idea, my vision for this area is I want to make like a half moon shape out of some cabana type facilities. We're gonna have to create those probably from scratch. I can't imagine there's anything in the catalog like that. And then bathrooms, changing rooms, a food and drink facility probably wouldn't hurt either. I mean, it is kind of a walk to get all the way out to this place. We could also just duplicate this guy and slap it down on the back here. We'll hopefully still have enough space for those cabanas, but let's start trying to build these cabana buildings first, and we'll go from there. I already know that I don't want to use bamboo for these. I think it's a fantastic looking material, but we've used it pretty much all throughout the park thus far, and it would be nice to have some different looking structures. So I'm kind of leaning more towards the wooden beam walls. This is the same material type or wall type that we were going to use for our main entrance building, but of course, I decided to go with bamboo instead. So I want these 3 walls to be arched openings, and then the back wall, I think, can just be one solid wall. I think that looks pretty good so far. What about curtains, though? Do we have curtains in here? Well, we're looking under walls, so that's not very helpful. We do have curtains. Okay, they're probably not going to snap to these walls very easily, though. So in that case, let's go back to walls, get rid of our curtain search, and we just need a basic flat wall with no weird shapes or anything to it. How about brick? Now, if we go back to those curtains, I want to try to use this double curtain here. Okay, it's kind of lining up. Maybe the singles are going to be the better option here, I think. So we'll do that first. Now, I want these to be white for sure. Let's change that around. The red's a bit too elegant. We need something a little bit more along these lines. Oh, and then it's got some crazy looking trim down at the bottom of it. I like this though. So let's just start copying these around to, well, we probably don't need them on that back wall, do we? Since there's not really anything going on over there. But the other 3 walls for sure. So now that we have that done, we can just delete those. I'm gonna temporarily move this out of the way. I'm worried about our roof though. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I didn't really align these walls the way you probably should. Ooh, and then the front curtains are gonna look kind of funky as well. Were there, hang on, let's go back to the browser. There's these that are like tied. Maybe we should go with those around the front. I think we will. So let's put her in reverse Terry. Get rid of this one, and then let's try for these guys here instead. Change their color as well. I think that's going to be a better look overall. Get rid of those. Make a big selection. Whoops, got to move this guy out of the way too. Otherwise, he'll get covered up and we'll never see him again. There we go. Yeah, a little bit different around the front. I like the way that that looks. We might even need to kind of scoot them out a little bit. But anyways, back to the whole roof thing. Let me slide this back in. So usually when you'd build a structure like this, you'd try to keep the walls like inside of this grid. Kind of like this, right? Whereas what I have here is on the outside of that little grid square. So I'm hoping we'll be able to get a roof to look halfway decent on top of this thing. I guess let's just figure that out now. It was thatch, right? That's what that roof's called. There we go. So the one that I want, I believe, is going to be this guy. Rotate it around and bring it on up a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe I'm going about this all wrong. We probably should have done it some other way. I wanted to leave space on the corners, though, so we could have some nice-looking pillars. What if we just get rid of the walls altogether? Because those support beams that I'm talking about would kind of go around the whole structure anyways. It would probably make more sense to just build the whole thing out of them instead. So I'm going to get rid of that back wall, too, and we'll just replace it with a brick wall to kind of keep that grid aligned.
Moments later.
With the support structure in place, I'm loving the way that it's turning out. It looks like a proper cabana already, but I tried the thatch roof and I'm still not really feeling it, so I'm having to scroll through the whole catalog here looking for like those square or rectangular sunshade tarp looking things, you know what I'm talking about? I've tried every search possible and I haven't been able to find them yet. This might be perfect. Or maybe we need something with a bit less stretch. Something a bit flatter, a bit more square, you know what I'm saying? Because we're gonna have some gaps if we center this up there. So let's try this one first. Yep, that's the one. That is the one, dude. That is straight up cash money. I would like to duplicate this like slat wall around the back to maybe either side as well, and then we can kind of just leave that front portion open. I wish there were drapes that were like bound together at the bottom like that, but more like on the sides, less straight down the middle and like more up along the side of the columns there. But I still like it.
More moments later.
Okay, I like it less now that we have the other slat walls in place. Would it look good without them? I mean, yeah, but it kind of loses that cabana feel to it, doesn't it? Maybe we'll just add some additional curtains like around the backside. That might help a little. Leave it to me to overcomplicate the world's simplest structure, but I am very happy with the way that it turned out, so all we have left to do is duplicate a couple of them and try to configure them in that half moon shape that I'm after. I'm not so sure that these will even be utilized by our guests. I just thought it would look cool and kind of help fill out this area a little bit. We do still need some sun loungers in there to sort of complete the look, but before we do that, I do think I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this structure and kind of drag it on over here. We'll see how it lines up. Using this column here from our cable car as a center point, I'd say that lines up pretty dang well. So we're going to place that down right there, and then now that we have it basically in the middle of this area, I do think I'm going to select these 4 cabanas. And using the world axis, I'm just going to slide them on out to right about there. Actually, maybe a little further. Maybe so they're just about in line with the side of that building right there. And then we're going to have to do the same thing for these 4 as well. The unfortunate thing about these cabanas is, since we don't have a proper barrier tool to use anymore, the guests will most likely Danny Phantom their way through these things. I'm hoping that the sun loungers we're about to add will kind of help prevent that from happening. We can prevent it from happening with this structure by basically adding a new path where the building sits, but we can't really do that with these because we do need the guests to be able to approach the sun loungers. It is what it is, you know. Maybe someday we'll get that barrier tool back. All right, the sun loungers are in place. I'm gonna hit play just so I can see if the guests are going to phase through them or not. Maybe not. Hang on, there's a huge group coming that way though. Are the sun loungers actually preventing them from walking through? Okay, there's one lady. All right. You know what? It's fine. It really is fine. I do need to add some new shops in here, though. We had to delete the old ones, right? We can't have the same shops that are just down the road from it. So we'll probably end up doing... What did we end up placing over here? This was kind of temporary, and I forgot to duplicate the little roof pieces for it, so we'll probably have to fix that later. We had a Cosmic Cow and a Viva La Vegan. So we'll probably do something similar since they're miles apart from each other. Now that we have that taken care of, before we move on to the lazy river side of the park, I do think I'm gonna add in some picnic benches and umbrellas and stuff just to make this more of an impromptu food court. That wasn't what it was supposed to be at all, but that's quickly what it's become. And then I'd also like to try to fix our revolving doors that we have for queues. Guests just circle. They just swarm the entrance and circle the whole time. So we need to make all of these just a little bit longer. They're still not going to be pretty, but it should help with the overcrowding. Crisis averted. Or what's the plural of crisis? Crises? Because it was a problem at all three of our coaster queues. But hopefully now that the path has been elongated slightly, that won't be an issue going forward. All right. Anyways, we're going to stop messing around with this side of the park, and we're going to move on, finally, to the opposite end over here by the lazy river. The first thing that we need to do is just straight up get rid of that facility, because, like I said, I kind of forgot to duplicate some of the roof pieces, and if I try to move them over manually, it's just not going to line up right, and overall, it'll look pretty bad. So now that we have that removed, I want to try to rework this plaza a little bit. So my idea going forward probably won't happen today. We're already kind of pushing it on time, but we have the cable car that currently nobody cares about, like, whatsoever. I have yet to see a single person ride this thing. So it's ending here, but what I want to do is extend it and have an additional station that will temporarily end here. Later it will continue elsewhere, but I kind of want them to be spat out, for a lack of a better word, on this end of the park. I'm hoping once we get some flat rides in this area, maybe people will be more inclined to actually utilize that cable car. Another idea that I saw a lot of you have with the whole trash and people kind of congregating in the old hot tub we had here is to try to make some type of a bridge kind of going over top of the lazy river, basically connecting that path to this main one over here. So I'm going to try that as well. I don't know that it's going to work just because of the way that paths function over top of water, but I'm gonna give it a crack, and we'll see what happens. So this whole path has to go. I am much happier with the way that this plaza turned out. We were able to kind of follow the contour of those beach cabbages alongside the lazy river. I think it looks way nicer. The edges and the bottom are gonna be squared off for now until we figure out what's gonna go where out here, but I do want to put some flat rides in this area for sure, and then once we figure that out, we can come back through and maybe round out or round off some of those harder edges. We have a whole metric butt ton of guests arriving. Good Lord. Notice how they're all kind of heading in this direction towards the coasters. It's like they don't care about the pools at all anymore. It's very upsetting. We don't have anyone in the wave pool. I'm gonna pretend like I didn't just see that, but instead of duplicating this building, that was the original plan, I think I'm probably gonna just duplicate this guy since it already has the shops that we're gonna put in that area anyways. I do still want this to be sort of close to the exit or entrance to the cave, depending on how you look at it, but I don't want to try to match that angle. I think I'd rather have it sort of parallel with the edge of the path there. So I'm thinking somewhere around here ought to do it. Ooh, I didn't check the height before placing that down. Hopefully it's not too bad. It's a little too high. No, it's actually too low. Okay, we're gonna do that again. This time for sure. Nice, okay. It kind of brought the plaza down with it just a little bit. That looks quite a bit nicer. Unfortunately though, I think this corner, usually we have to adjust just slightly. So I'm gonna go back into paths. We're gonna use our delete tool. Yeah, see that little corner right in here? That's gonna allow the guests to Danny Phantom their way through the thing. So I'm just gonna delete that bit. Head on over to the opposite side. We're gonna delete that bit and just kind of patch it up. Now, before we try to figure out a bridge inside of this cave, I'm gonna work on adding in those missing trees and other plants just around the water's edge.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
It's a shame, really. The only thing that the scenery brush tool can't help us with is getting the beach cabbage to perfectly align around the outskirts of the path. But after some manual moving around, it's finally finished. So, what was that? Flume Platform 30 has had its queue paused until another staff member arrives. That's fine. We should probably add in just a bunch of like floater staff members. And then when the update sometime this month comes through, we should be able to actually like make our staff zones and everything like that. Because at the moment they don't really function properly, I'll be honest. So I don't really even want to mess around with that too much anymore. But let's move on to this bridge thing. So what I want to do first is just figure out how wide the lazy river really is, and then we'll make a sort of mock lazy river out here that's just straight across, and then I think it'll be a little bit easier to figure out how to build a bridge over it. I really hope this doesn't take us 3 or 4 years to complete, but this is what I'm going to try first. Bring that path up just to see if we can bring it over top of the pool without deleting the pool. Okay, what if, hang on, whoops. Let's just connect it all the way across like that. What if now that we have the bridge finished, could we fix the pool? For a second there, I was like, it worked! And then the bridge itself got deleted. So it needs to go higher up than this. I've moved our starting and ending paths 13 more feet away from the edge of the pool, and then we're gonna use a fixed length of 13 feet because it seems like we can go up the highest at that length. So we'll do the same thing here. Up two clicks, 2 taps of the U button on the keyboard. Oh my, okay, hang on. Will it work? Coming back down the other way. That's so high up though, and it does kind of do some weird stuff to the edge of the pool if you don't get it just right. But we might be able to work with this. We should probably be using the wooden path with some railing as well, just to kind of complete that look. Okay, I'm not gonna bring it over yet. I think I'm gonna hit escape, and then we'll try doing the opposite side next. Hopefully we'll be able to kind of just get them to meet perfectly in the middle. It didn't do any weird things to the edge of the pool that time. Okay, but it's still so high, dude. I mean, I know we can make it skinnier, more narrow if we need to. I suppose let's try to slide this in there and we'll just kind of see where it's sitting at. So using our multi-select tool, we're just gonna select just the bridge, not the main paths at the bottom. Confirm that. Let's see what happens. I keep biting my cheek. That's like the 4th or 5th time I've bit my cheek while talking today. This is the other issue, is that we've got to get it lined up perfectly. Otherwise, it will probably do some weird stuff to the edge of the pool. That doesn't look terrible. I suppose we just try it and see what happens, right? I don't want to look. Too steep? Okay. I mean, it kind of worked. It got a little weird up here towards the top, but it just takes up so much space. That's really not the look I was going for. I was hoping that we could kind of get the staircase to start like right at the edge of the pool and just sort of make a small arch over it, but it's kind of too much.
Many, many minutes later.
I have spent way longer than I care to admit trying to figure out different ways for us to make this work, and I just don't think it's possible. I even tried to exploit a bug that I saw somebody else do like 2 weeks ago, and I think that's even been patched, or maybe I just didn't do the method properly. Basically, you're supposed to be able to take the natural path and make it so it's invisible, which is really cool, and I could definitely see a lot of uses for that around the park, but I don't think that that's even possible anymore. And unfortunately, because I've been messing around with this for so long, we're out of time. So that is where we're going to have to wind things down at for today. But once again, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, leave a comment, help support the dream by smashing that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Peace.